Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and to another video. Today is not going to be about Arch. We are going to install i3 on Debian and we're going to follow a very light installation. So what we are basically going to do, we are going to download the ISO, install Debian quickly and then build the i3 window manager on top of it. So without further ado, let's get going. So this is one of the pages on the Debian website, and this is actually the unofficial non-free images including firmware packages page. And this page provides you basically with links to the ISOs, non-free ISOs, which are including firmware packages. So this might be something you might want to download, especially if you have a newer machine where you might not have all the firmware in the free images. So it's up to you. I will leave a link to both in the video description below. In my case though, I downloaded actually the non-free ISO here, the first one on this link. Then I went to AMD 64 and ISO CD, scroll down and downloaded my firmware net install ISO. So this is basically a net install. It's providing you just the basic things. You can see it's also fairly small in size, 472 megs. So you can download this, burn it to a stick, or just attach it to your virtual machine to boot it up. Now I have already a virtual machine opened up here, so let me switch to it. And you can see this is what happens when you boot up the ISO. So we have graphical install. I'm gonna go with graphical install here. I'm not going to go too much in depth about the installation itself because it's pretty straightforward. So here I'm gonna select the language. I'm gonna select my country here, which is other and Europe. I'm gonna press S to select my country, which is Switzerland right now. The locales, United States, is fine. And the key map to use is actually the Swiss German keyboard. And it's going to take a moment here to basically load additional components. So here is now detecting the hardware for the network, which is going to take a moment here to configure the HCP, depending also on your internet connection. Of course, it should not take too long. You can see it's already finished. And here we can choose the host name. So Debian is fine. So I'm going to hit enter. The domain name for me is empty. I don't need to attach any domain name to my installation. And now I can select my root password. So I'm gonna enter one here and re-enter it down here and hit enter. Now full name for the new user. So new user here, I'm gonna put in my full name here and the username is fine. And I'm going to select also a password. Now, by default in Debian, this user is not going to have sudo privileges. So we need to fix this afterwards. Now it's going to prepare the disk here. It's going to start the partitioner. There you go. So I want to use the entire disk here. So I'm going to select just the first option here. The first disk is the only one I have. And I'm going to go here with a separate home partition, but you can choose any other option here. It's up to you. And now it's ready to finish partitioning the disk. So I'm just going to hit enter here and write the changes to the disk. So this is going to take a moment. It's installing now the base system. As you can see, it's going to take a couple of seconds. These are not big packages. Nevertheless, I'm going to cut the video here and be back with you once it's finished. So here it's asking me about if I want to scan more media. I don't. So I'm just going to hit enter here to no. And select the country for the repositories, which is Switzerland. That's fine. I'm going to select init 7, which is one of the fastest mirrors I have. And proxy, I don't need any. So I'm just going to hit enter here. And it's going to configure now the apt package manager for my Debian installation. Again, this is going to take a moment. And now I will need to select my software. So the window is going to appear in a second here. So I don't want to participate here in this survey, which I've already done. So I'm just going to hit enter here. And I should be asked now to select the software. There you go. So I'm going to deselect Debian desktop environment and GNOME, and I'm just going to leave here standard system utilities and then hit continue. So this is going to install the packages. It's going to take probably like 1 minute to do that. So I'm going to again cut the video here and be back with you when it's done. So the installation is now complete and we can just hit continue. So here we have the grab bootloader. Let me actually hit the E key here because I want to add one parameter for the display. This is just because I am on a virtual machine here. So video equal 1920 per 1080 so that it picks up my display resolution here, and hit Ctrl X to start the machine. And you can see here I have now the Debian prompt. So I'm going to enter my username and my password. and now I am logged in into my installation. So the first thing, actually, I want to give sudo privileges here and install a font that I can make bigger on the terminal. So let me switch to the root user, su dash, and then hit enter the password I chose during the installation, and type in apt install xfonts dash terminus and hit enter. And I'm just going to install this font here so that I can now also increase the font size. Now, to set up the console, we can use this command dpkg-reconfigure-plow and then console-setup and hit enter. And UTF-8, this is fine for me. The Latin 1, Latin 5, Western Europe, this is also okay. Now, for the font here, I'm going to go with Terminus, which I just installed, and hit enter. And I'm going to select the size, which is 32, and hit enter. And now you can see we have there our new font. It's much easier to read for you as well. So while we are here, we can actually give Hermano sudo privileges, the user I created before. So to do this, we can type in usermod -a capital G. The group is sudo, and the username is my username, and then hit enter. Now, this is not going to work until I reboot the machine. So let me reboot the machine very quickly. Type in reboot here. And again, I hit the he key. I could have actually edited the grab file, but I'm going to do this later. Video equal 1920 per 1080 here, and Control X to boot up. And enter now my username and also my password. And now if I type in sudo apt update, you can see sudo command not found. And this is because we installed a very basic version of Debian here. So we need to install sudo as well. So let's switch to the root user and enter the password and type in apt install sudo. And let's install this. It's going to take a moment. This is not a big package. So I'm going to go back here to the username and try again the same command, sudo apt update. Now you can see sudo now works, so I can enter my password and I can update my packages. There are no updates, but you can see now the user has sudo privileges. So we are ready now to install our window manager. So let's type in sudo apt install. So I'm going to install first the i3 group, very simply. This includes also i3 status and i3 lock. We need to install also a display server. And for this, I'm going to install the Xorg display server. We need to install also a display manager. Well, we don't need to actually, but it's an option. You can also use i3 with StarX, but in this video, I'm going to install a display manager. In my case, it's going to be LightDM, and the greeter for LightDM is going to be the slick-greeter. And I'm going to install also the LightDM settings to be able to edit the settings for the greeter. And I'm going to install LX appearance and also nitrogen to manage my wallpapers. I'm going to install PCman FM, our file manager, and also one browser, in my case Chromium. And because we have really a basic system here, I want to install also the sound system because that's not available yet. So I'm going to install Pulse Audio, also ALSA-utils, and also Pavu Control, so that I'm able to control the audio interfaces in i3. So the last package I want to install is actually Terminator. Now this is one terminal that you can install, but you can install also other ones, of course. But Terminator, I like Terminator because it's fairly light. And this should be enough for this installation. So let's hit enter here and install the packages. These are about 950 megabytes of package. So I'm going to pause the video here and be back with you once it's done. So the packages are now installed, but there are still a couple of things I want to do before rebooting the machine. The first one is to change my grub configuration file just because of my virtual machine. So I can type in nano, which is installed by default, /etc/default/grub. And you can see here I forgot actually to use the sudo command. So let me go out from here with Control X and retype the command here with sudo. And now I can edit the file. So what I want to do here, I want to actually use again the video parameter to append here. So I'm just going to append it like this. And I'm going to use also here the GFX mode so that it appears correctly on my virtual machine. Probably you can skip this, but if it doesn't display correctly also on your display, you can uncomment this line and set the resolution from here. And then grub should appear correctly also on your display. Then I can save this file with Ctrl-O and Ctrl-X and run sudo update-grub. It's going to regenerate the configuration for grub. There you go. And now I can also enable my display manager with sudo systemctl enable lightdm. So what we can do now, we can reboot our machine by typing in sudo reboot and hit enter. It's going to take a moment again, and we should see also the new grub display resolution. There you go. So we can just hit enter here to start our installation, and we should see the lightdm slick greeter, and here it is. I could have actually already set the resolution there, so I forgot to do that. Doesn't matter, we can change that afterwards. So I'm going to enter my username and my password. And now we are in i3. So I'm going to select enter here to generate the config file. And again, enter to accept the default for the Win key as a mod key. And we are now in our installation. So let me change first the lightdm configuration file. So I'm going to hit mod enter to start my terminal, which is Terminator, as you can see. And I'm going to type in sudo nano /etc/lightdm and then lightdm.conf. Enter my password here. And I'm going to scroll down until I find here the seed group where I need to change the display setup script. Now this is usually for me necessary on a virtual machine. Probably for you on Metal it's different. xrender --output virtual1. This is the name of my virtual desktop. --mode and then 1920 per 1080. Then I can save this with Ctrl-O and enter and Ctrl-X to exit. Now let's see if it works. So let me reboot one more time my machine here. You can see with Debian, we need to always use sudo. It's going to take a moment again to reboot the machine. Boot up grub here. And now we should see lightdm with the correct resolution. There you go. So now I need to put in my username always and then my password, but we can change this afterwards in the settings for lightdm. And here we have our i3 window manager. So again, mod enter to start our terminal. And let's type in free-h to see how much memory we are using here. You can see we are using 197 megabytes. It's very, very little. It's very light. So a few things to configure. First of all, I'm going to configure my terminal here. I'm going to select here profiles and deselect the title bar and also the title bar icon. I'm going to go for underline here. The font here is going to be monospace, but I'm going to choose actually here a little bit bigger size so that you can see also better. I'm going to go with 14. And for the colors, I'm going to go for now to use colors from theme, and I'm going to show you afterwards why. Background, I'm going to go with solid background here, and scrolling, I'm going to take it off because I don't need the scroll bar, and then I can click close. You can see now what it looks like. Now this is because we don't have any theme selected right now, but we will install one right now and then you'll see how it changes. So let's type in sudo apt install and then arc-theme and hit enter. Need to authenticate, of course, and proceed with the installation. This is not a big theme, but it's providing us with nice colors, especially little darker colors. So now mod D to start D menu, which is already installed. And let's search for LX appearance, which is right here. So now here we have the Arc Dark theme, which we just installed. So I'm going to select it and click apply and then click close. I'm going to close the terminal with mod shift Q and reopen it. And you can see now we have the new theme applied also to the terminal. So next I want to take care of my i3 status, which is the bar you see down here. I'm not going to customize it too much. I have videos for that already on the channel, but I just want to show you here a basic, very, very basic setup. So the configuration file is under the etc directory, and I want to copy it actually over to my config directory just to make sure that I have the original still in the same place. So I'm going to type in cp and then /etc/i3 status. I'm going to copy this under the .config and then i3 directory, basically in there. And now I can work with that configuration file. So what I'm going to type in here, I'm going to type in nano.config/ i3 status. And here there are a few things that I want to change. First of all, I don't want to actually see, in my case, the wireless because I don't have it. So I'm just gonna add here an hashtag here for the comment. And I don't have a battery. This is a virtual machine, so I'm gonna comment this out as well. And for the rest, for now, it's gonna be fine. Oh, actually, I want to comment out also the IPv6. I don't need to have this information. Now let's hit Ctrl O and enter to save the file and Ctrl X to exit the editor. And to reload the configuration file, we can hit Mod Shift C. But you can see actually nothing is happening here. And that's because the i3 status is using the default configuration file under the etc directory. So we need to tell i3 to look for the configuration file we have here in our .config directory. So to do this, we need to open the configuration file. So let's type in nano.config, then i3, and then config, which was created when we started the window manager the first time. And we're going to go down here at the end of the file. And we need to tell basically i3 here where to look for the configuration file for our status bar. You can see here we have i3 status, but this is going to look in the etc directory. So we can add here -c for configuration, and then the path where the configuration is, which is /home/hermano/.config/i3 status.conf. And then we can hit Ctrl O and enter to save the file and Ctrl X to exit the editor. And now if I hit Mod Shift C, you can see there we have just the informations that I define in the configuration file. So this is one basic example. Now let me open up one browser. So hit Mod D here and start Chromium, the browser we installed before. So I'm going to go here to the i3 status configuration file website. So I'm going to type in i3 status very simply. And I'm going to select here the English language and click the first link, i3 status, and then go down here to the end of the page and go to view the man page online. And these are basically the things you can display or hide in your configurations here. The one I want to show you right now is the volume, because this is probably the one which is used the most. So I'm going to click here, and there are a few things we need to do to properly display the volume here in the bar. So you can see we need to find out first which device we have in our computer. So to do this, we need to use this command. So let me copy it here directly from the website and paste it in the terminal, and then hit enter. So you can see I have only one device here, and I need to put this basically into this volume master template. So what I'm going to do for now, I'm going to copy these lines here, and I'm going to open again the i3 status configuration file by opening up first another terminal. And I'm going to type in nano again, .config, then i3, and then i3 status. And I want to actually enter this at the end of the file, but before the clock. So let's see, the time is right here. So I want to add it basically before the time zone here. So I'm going to make a few spaces and press Shift Insert to paste in what I copied. But now I need to basically change this line to reflect this device. So let me copy it from my terminal here. And I'm gonna go here in my configuration file, and let me close also the browser here because I don't need this anymore. So I can basically delete this line until pulse, and then I can hit Shift Insert to insert my device here. And this is not done yet. We need to go up here to the order, because without this it will not appear on i3 status. So again, I want to add it here before the time. So I'm going to go here under memory, enter a new space and type in order plus equal the double quotes, the block name, it's called volume space master, close the quotes. And now we can save this file with Ctrl O and exit, and Ctrl X to exit the editor. And let's exit once our window manager here and hit yes. And my password. And you can see there we have now the volume. So I can hit my volume keys on the keyboard and it's changing just fine. Now, if I would play something, you would hear also the sound, but right now this is fine. So let's open up again our terminal because we need to define also the wallpaper. So also let's open up Nitrogen, which is already installed, and go to Preferences, click Add, go to File System here, scroll down to User, Share, and then let's scroll down here to Wallpapers. There has to be somewhere here. And I go to Debian theme here and then Contents. And then Images, and here I click Select and click OK. Now I'm going to select my image here. This is my display resolution, so that's fine. And I'm going to go here to Zoomed Fill and click Apply. And now if I close this and close also the terminal, I have my wallpaper. Now I want to make sure that when I log in the next time, it's going to be there. So we need to put this also in the configuration file. So nano.config, then i3, and then /config. I'm going to go down again to the end of the file because it's easier to do it from there. And I'm going to type in here the comment and type in wallpaper. And for the command, it's going to be exec nitrogen -- restore. The next time we log in, we will have our wallpaper there. Now, the next thing I want to do here also is to configure the lock screen. So I'm going to type in here lock screen. And I want to create a shortcut for this. So I'm going to type in bind sim, then the mod key +X. This is going to be what I use to basically lock my screen. And when we hit mod X, we need to execute with exec i3 lock. Now let's see what happens if we save this file with Control O and enter and Control X, and we reload the configuration file with mod Shift C. Now if I hit mod X, you can see I have my lock screen here. It's a white screen, so that might be actually not really the best color for your eyes. I don't know. But we can change this if we go back into the configuration file and we specify the color we want to use. So this is command I use. So I go back to the end of the line here and add -C for color. And I want to have a black screen. So I'm going to put in here 6 zeros. And then save the file and exit. Now reload the configuration file with mod Shift C and hit mod X. You can see now we have a black screen, which is to my eyes a little easier. And the last thing I want to show you here is to configure your display manager. So let's type in sudo lightdm-settings. This has to be run as sudo, otherwise it will not work. And here we can choose also the theme. So in my case, it's going to be Arc Dark as well. And I'm going to go here under users. And I want to basically deselect hide the user list. And I'm going to show you afterwards why. So this is now done for me. I can actually deselect here battery power. I don't need to display this. And that's fine for me. So I can hit mod Shift Q to close this. And we can reboot our machine with sudo reboot. And we will check if all of these things are now in place. So let's see when grub comes up, we can hit enter. And we should see the LightDM display manager now with the user already selected, and I can just enter my password and my wallpaper is also there. So let's open up the terminal, free-h. You can see we are using right now 200 megabytes. So it's a very light installation with Debian and the i3 window manager. So there we go, we installed i3 on Debian. This should be enough to get you started. You can of course customize further your window manager or install more packages whenever you need it, but this should be enough to get you started. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any question, let me know in the comments below and I will try to answer you as soon as I can. And I also hope that you like the video, and I'll see you very soon in the next one.